Добрий день.
Good afternoon. I want to thank everybody who joined us. Ukraine Media Center Ukrinform continues its operation, and we're into day 243 of the full-scale invasion in Ukraine, and we'll talk about the situation in Odesa region. We're having Serhii Bratchuk live with us, the head of public council under Odesa Oblast, and the military governor of Odesa region. Hello, Mr. Serhii. Hello, glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. Mr. Serhii, how did the last weekend pass in Odesa region? Well, during the war we don't have the days off, we don't have weekends. The martial law doesn't imply any days off. We have quite agitated schedule. I want to remind you that on the 22nd of October there was a missile strike on the energy supply facility in Odesa region, and I want to make a formal statement that in all the settlements, in the towns and villages in Odesa region, the power supply was reestablished thanks to our emergency service. Still, the situation is threatening. There are two missile carriers in the equator of the Black Sea. The enemy keeps conducting reconnaissance in the region, in the equator of the Black Sea, and still may attempt to make more strikes either with missiles or drones, but still we keep operating, especially in the view of the situation when Russian Federation tries to influence the situation in Odesa region by their military efforts. And the massive strikes on Odesa caused the ports in Odesa region, the Pivdeni port and Odesa port, to operate less efficiently, but still the grain corridor keeps operating. The sixth vessel left Odesa port recently for Yemen within the grain corridor arrangement, and another 6 vessels left with the Ukrainian grain within the framework or the World Food Program to different locations throughout the world. And we counter all the efforts of the occupants to stop the grain deal from working. And we react in an efficient manner to all the challenges of time. Mr. Serhii, do you plan the rolling power shutdowns in the Odesa region? We're talking now about... We have the schedules of shutdowns in place, the schedules of stabilization actions. There are five turns. It mostly refers to industrial facilities, but as for the residential areas, we don't have any shutdown plans for the time being. I want to remind you that when the energy supply companies called for energy economy, Odesa region was among the leaders of energy saving. So we currently react to all the recent developments, and for the time being everything is under control. Mr. Serhii, do you see any changes in the Black Sea lately? In the view of enemy striking us with the caliber missiles from the equator, the situation is sort of changing. We had information about the submarines who can also launch missiles to Odesa and Odesa region, and now they're coming back to Crimea to replenish their ammunition reserve. And now we have information about 16 caliber missiles carried by the vessels in the equator of the Black Sea, ready to strike. Dear colleagues, your questions. Good afternoon, Ukrinform. On October 24, the questioning of Odesa inhabitants was finished as to the disassembly of Catherine II monument. What about, and 50% of the population were voted for disassembly of the monument. What's the take of the regional council of that, and how will it react to this situation? Well, first of all, yes, we're talking about the results of this interviewing. We're not talking about the destruction, we're talking about the disassembly. It's only in Kherson where the occupants stole the monuments of Suvorov and Ushakov. But talking about the personality of Catherine II, that after this question she would have left herself. But as to the regional council, it's their question, and our duty as the military administration, we react to our challenges, and as President Zelensky mentioned, the issue of disassembly of the monument should be decided by the community, and the municipal council should comply with the will of the people. I think that they may be preparing for some actions, and this is why they keep this pause, this information pause. Mr. Serhii, there was information about the volunteer shelter opened in Odesa recently. Is there a sufficient number of these kind of shelters, or do you know about any lack of such shelters? Well, you know, the issue of the shelters themselves, when people talk about the building the shelter starting from the February 24 this year, I answered that the construction of the shelters and the inspection of the shelters should have been taking place starting from the year 2014. Talking about the shelters in our region, I cannot talk about any lack thereof. And the municipal and regional councils are taking care of this issue all the time. You know, for example, that in Odesa we have a mixed mode of study, mixed form of education, and we have shelters where people can not only wait for the missile or drone strike to be over, but the children have opportunity to maintain the educational process in those shelters. And on the other hand, not municipal council, not military administration have any right to prohibit such projects, and I personally support it to the full extent. And I know that the Odesa citizens, they clean the shelters themselves. Friends, any more questions? What's the progress of construction of the module building for the internally relocated persons? I want to refer to the operation schedule, that the periods are determined and the process is being controlled. We have technical issues to be solved, and we fully comply with the schedule to enable the full operation of this module building towns. Mr. Serhii, thank you very much for joining us. I will remind you, we had Serhii Bratchuk live with us, the head of Odesa military administration. Our next session will be with Pavlo Kirilenko, head of the next military administration. Stay with